Hey everybody, and welcome to the Revolution Remix podcast. If you like what you hear and you're having a good time, please hit the subscribe button down below. You can also find me on Instagram at Real Deal Vinyl Review and also on Twitter at RD Vinyl Review. Cheers everybody. Alright, so this is episode 1. So today we're going to be talking about Fleetwood Mac's Rumours album. And today with me we have a good friend of mine. How long would you say we've been friends for?
Coming up on 20 years.
We're hitting the big 2-0.
Isn't that crazy?
Our friendship is a young adult.
It really is. It can almost drink legally.
Almost. Probably does, but just goes on the down low. But today with me, we have my friend, one of my really good friends. Like you said, I've known for a long time. Resides in the great state of Florida. Is a great front man for this awesome band, Vertebreaker. Did I say correctly?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Today with me, we have Jack Connor. So thank you very much for doing this for my first podcast. So
Joey, this is an honor and a privilege. You've been on my podcast, so I am really excited to be on yours. I've been looking forward to this for a while. I mean, like you mentioned, you and I go back. I mean, I look at you like a brother. So this is great, man. I'm excited about it, to talk a little Fleetwood Mac with you.
I know. I'm really excited to talk about this too, and just on the wings of all of the whole Lindsey Buckingham situation.
Yeah. I don't know if you got into that. Like right now, as we're recording this, it is April 19th, 2008. And I think, I don't know if it was this week or last week where we found out that Lindsey Buckingham.
Did you say 2008?
Oh, Jesus, I did. I said 2018. My bad. In the words of Fergie, I'm so 2000 and late with that.
Wow, you have, wow.
Yeah, I went there. That's a segue.
You never cease to amaze me.
No.
But basically, this is on the wings of Lindsey Buckingham getting quote unquote fired from Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, and again, I don't know too much about the story. I don't know if Lindsey left or fired. It's crazy to think about that, especially at this stage in their career, that there are still personnel problems with Fleetwood Mac. I know just recently Christine McVie sort of came out of retirement.
Yes.
For a long time she was not touring or really doing anything and going on the road musically. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, from what I've seen from some of the articles I read, it seems they're saying there was creative differences. But I mean, they had creative differences throughout their whole career.
Right.
And no one was fired at that point. You know what I mean? So that begs to differ. What really is the issue? What's it coming down to? Is it money? Is it Lindsey wanting to get more credit? He was always involved with the music itself and really had a big hand in structuring the music as well.
Well, certainly. I mean, definitely for as long as he was in the band. I know when he and Stevie joined in the early 70s, I think it was, they brought a whole new, it became a different band at that point. Fleetwood Mac, after all, was started in the mid-60s by, and I think Mick Fleetwood and John McVie were the original members.
Actually,
they had a guy.
Well, Mick Fleetwood was.
Oh, maybe John McVie wasn't a founding member, because I know there was a guy named Peter Green on lead vocals.
Yes, and actually, from what I was looking at, I think I could be talking out of my ass, but I think I was just watching Behind the Music, and Peter Green wrote Black Magic Woman.
That's right. Yeah, he did with Santana. I mean, that was such a huge hit. And think about, I mean, it's kind of crazy how many careers spawned off of that song, because you had guys like Greg Raleigh from Journey who sang on that record. I mean, I should say he later went on to found Journey with Neil Schon and all that, who was also at Santana for a bit.
Oh, he was the prodigy of Santana.
For sure. He was like 15 when he was in that band. That was nuts.
Yeah, he was. I think that was during Woodstock. Yeah, he was like 16 or something. It's insane.
Yes.
So, okay, so let's start talking about Rumors a little bit. Just some little facts. It's the 11th studio album from Fleetwood Mac. So before that, there were 10 albums before that did get a lot of press, but it just wasn't the right lineup because they're always having issues with ever-changing guitar players, background singers, and nothing was really fitting well. So when Mick Fleetwood got John McVie in, and then you had Christy McVie, then that kind of started that trio there. But then when Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks got into the scene, that's where it became a game changer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, those two were just such a powerhouse duo already, and then coming into that band, like I said, it became a different band at that point, essentially. But I mean, yeah, that is what people consider to be the classic lineup is those five: Lindsey, Stevie, Mick, John, and Christine. So,
yeah, but it was such a dynamic group, and it was just a spark was lit. They couldn't be touched.
Absolutely. I don't know. Do you know, Joe, if this is the first? If this was the first album with that lineup?
No.
Because
the previous album, which was titled Fleetwood Mac.
Okay, yes, I'm seeing that right now. It's the self-titled album from '75. That was the first with that lineup.
Exactly, and that's where you got Landslide, Rhiannon. You got some really good songs off of that album.
For sure, yeah, classic songs. I know Lindsey and Stevie being, they were from California, so I'm assuming at some point Mick and John and Christine must have relocated to the West Coast, and that's probably where they.
And that's where they kind of found each other because I guess once John McVie and
Christine.
Christine, have I said Christy?
I think so, but that's all right. I know what you meant.
Thank you. I always get that mixed up. So, you know what?
Hey, I get it totally. My wife's name is Christina. I have had people in my family call her Christine for years, so, it's all good.
So sue me.
Yeah, it's fine.
The worst is Caroline and Carolyn.
Right? Oh, forget it.
Oh, my God.
Or Jesus. Andrea and Andrea.
Andrea. I am not making fun of anybody named Andrea.
No.
If you're listening and your name's Andrea,
we love you.
You are awesome.
Yeah.
But basically, when Christine McVie, John McVie, and Mick Fleetwood, they were kind of like a little trio there. They really thought that they could make it in the States. So that's when they relocated to the States, and that's where they kind of found Lindsey Buckingham. And Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks were just playing bars around the LA scene, not really getting anywhere.
Yeah.
So basically, I think it was Mick Fleetwood that went to him and asked Lindsey to join the band, but it was actually Lindsey came back and said, they're a package.
It's like, yeah, can I bring my girlfriend?
Exactly. So, but what Stevie Nicks did was she went and bought all of their previous albums and listened to them front to back to see how she could influence or make the band better, and vice versa. And how could Fleetwood Mac make her a better singer as well?
Of course. I'm trying to look through the history of Fleetwood Mac. I don't know if had they had a female vocalist, besides Christine McVie prior to Stevie Nicks?
I don't believe so.
I don't think they have. Yeah. I think those have been the only two girls in the band.
Hey, and it works.
Yeah, that added a whole new dynamic. I always felt that Christine McVie was sort of an underrated member because Lindsey and Stevie were so upfront and they became such huge stars. Christine McVie you could almost call it's sort of like the George Harrison effect, where she was a talented writer and singer in her own right, but she probably got overshadowed by what Lindsey and Stevie brought to the band.
I agree with you, and after listening to Rumors over again, my favorite songs are Christine McVie songs.
She has at least 3 that are, where she takes the lead vocal on them. And I think Stevie only has like two on there where she sings lead on.
Let's see. Dreams with Stevie Nicks,
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, you're pretty much right. There's Gold Dust Woman.
Yeah.
I Don't Want to Know, which is Stevie Nicks and
Yeah,
Lindsey
yeah, yeah.
Buckingham, and then The Chain.
Okay, yeah, okay. So maybe it's a little bit more even than that, but
But you're pretty much right though. Like just solely Stevie Nicks, it's about 2 songs.
yeah.
So you're definitely right on that.
Okay.
So definitely a couple more facts is that within 1 week of Rumors being released, they sold 800,000 copies.
It's amazing. That. I mean, can you even imagine that many records being sold in today's day and age? That's just that sort of thing just doesn't happen anymore.
It's all about views.
Pretty much.
It's all it is now.
Well, also even though you mentioned like the band had been together, I want to say about 9 or 10 years at this point, and they were already 10 albums deep. That was just how quickly bands just cranked out albums. You'd have so many bands of that era like still in the 60s and 70s, turn out like 2 per year. Like that was, and they were on the road all the time.
Oh yeah, when the self-titled Fleetwood Mac album came out, they were touring constantly, and then that's kind of what brought upon all the writing for Rumors was all the shenanigans and
all that,
all the cocaine that Mick Fleetwood snorted.
Oh God, yeah. I can only imagine the amount of nose candy that was consumed during the recording of this record.
Yeah, exactly. They said basically their drugs of choice were cocaine and marijuana. So I mean,
it's about right.
So yeah, sounds about right for the 70s.
Sure.
But also, which I didn't know, is that Rumors knocked Hotel California from the Eagles out of the #1 spot.
Wow, that's pretty solid. And it's funny that you mentioned the Eagles because I feel like, with Lindsey and Stevie bringing that California influence, there's definitely a similar vibe in terms of all the harmonies, the emphasis on vocals, and sort of the laid-back feel that I don't know if it was a California thing at the time, but there's certainly a lot of similarities between Fleetwood Mac's sound at that time and the Eagles.
I agree. They were all running around together, basically,
Oh, no doubt.
If we're going into the Eagles, obviously, Glenn Fry and Don Henley were, background band for Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they're just hanging out and living next to Jackson Browne and...
Sure.
It was just common. Like, it was nothing.
Pretty much. I mean, a lot of those bands kind of ran together, and like Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles, they were never like the heaviest band. They weren't like hard rocking bands back then, but they still had, such a great level of musicianship that, they managed to cross over big time to, sort of like pop radio and the rockers love them too, of course.
Yeah, because I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, like looking at their live performances, like Lindsey Buckingham really wails on the guitar. Like that, it's rocking. It's not. We're not in soft rock territory.
A strong country music influence in there as well. Lindsey, he's obviously known for that finger picking technique on his guitar. So it's like there are elements of like country and bluegrass in there as well. So they're covering a lot of territory sonically.
Okay, here's my off-topic question for you then.
Yeah.
As a musician, how do you feel about the finger styling, the finger picking style, and when a musician grows out their nail to look like, do you know what I'm saying though? Guitar players will grow out their thumbnails and their pointer fingers.
I honestly, Joe, I didn't even know that was a thing. Really,
now you know.
Well, yeah, and knowing's half the battle.
Like, I'm serious. Look at some finger style guitar players.
I mean, that's always something. Again, I'm more of a bass player than I am, a 6-string guitar player. I wish I was, I mean that. I'm not that great as far as like finger picking when it comes to playing guitar. I think that's a really cool thing if you're able to do that. I mean, there are a lot of great players who are just so precise when it comes to that, and it isn't even a sound that I necessarily listen to on my own all that much. But I mean, if if you're a finger picking guitar player and that helps you play, better, and if you're not hurting yourself, then do what you got to do. I mean,
I agree.
I don't have a problem with that.
I agree, but yet I find it utterly disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how.
You could get a fucking pick. You could get a thumb pick or a finger pick.
Yeah, there are finger picks out there.
And be fine with that.
Tips and yeah.
Instead of going El Natural.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's sanitary or not, but
that's what I'm thinking, because all your other fingers are pretty well coiffed and like manicured and everything, and then you got these jaggedy ass 3 fingers and a thumb that look like the witch from Snow White.
Right? Like are they rolling up with like mani pedis and getting that done? Like I don't know what the deal is. How they keep that up. Right? It reminds me of like Nuclear Man from Superman 4, where they just kind of jut out. There's an obscure reference for you there, kids. YouTube it.
I think I might after this, but I want you to YouTube, like, I guess, I don't even know how to even describe it. Do you know what the funniest one was like Esteban.
Esteban?
Yeah. I don't know which way to call it. Esteban or Esteban.
Is that the guy?
He sold those really cheap guitars, those infomercials.
Yes. He's a guy from like either commercials or infomercials. I didn't know if that was a real guy or just like a character for an ad campaign.
No, he's like a classically trained like guitarist. Like, but those guitars were a piece of shit. Oh my God.
They're not like nylon string kind of like classical.
It was like your cheapest acoustic guitar that we're just gonna slap together. And I'm going to put it... Only reason why is because my wife's father got one.
Interesting.
Thankfully, he upgraded to a Martin.
Oh, good. Yeah, good man.
It was when he first started, so it was just to see if he would like it. But oh my God, it is so hard to play.
Yeah.
The finger or the strings are so high up. The action's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible. But I digress. But if you look at anything from him, watch him play and watch him finger pick, and you're going to see those disgusting nails.
Interesting. But yeah, I mean, I will say that, I mean, Lindsay is, I mean, certainly in like a rock context, the fact that he brought the finger picking into like a rock context is really cool. And he's able to do that and like shred with it as well. It's pretty wild.
Oh,
that's something it's something you see more in like country music and like, bluegrass and stuff. But like Lindsay really kind of brought that to more of a rock medium, if you will.
No, I absolutely agree. And he is just so unique in his own way.
Absolutely.
So bringing that dynamic into Fleetwood Mac was awesome and made their sound awesome and different. So I mean, let's see where else we can go with this. It was recorded 1976 at the record plant.
Yes.
In Sausalito, California.
Not familiar with Sausalito, but this is interesting. What I saw, one of the producers.
I'm familiar with Sausalito cookies from Pepperidge Farm, though.
Oh, they sound delicious.
They are. But I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, of course. This is interesting. I'm looking at some of the credits right now. One of the producers on this record was a guy named Ken Calais, who is the father of the singer-songwriter Colby Calais.
Ah, that makes some sense.
Now, for those of you who don't know, that's that, she did that song. It was kind of a big hit a few years. Smile on my toes and I bend my nose wherever it goes. I don't know all the words, but I mean, you chances are, if you've listened to radio, like pop radio in the last 10 years, you know that song.
Yeah. I totally. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, so that's a pretty wild little bit of trivia there.
Oh my God. That is really interesting. But that's cool. So they did it there, and they did the mixing at Sound City.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, the legendary Sound City.
It was a mixture of Sound City and the record plant as well.
Gotcha. I still need to see that documentary that Dave Grohl did about Sound City, and just all because I know Stevie participated in that, and that they collaborated a lot with that, but Dave Grohl sort of spearheaded that. I really need to see
wonderful. That was a wonderful documentary.
I can imagine just so much history in that studio.
Oh my God. No, absolutely. So where should we go next in this new podcast? Because right now we're at a free for all, and I'm cool. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that because why the hell not?
You're a rock and roll band. It's a free for all. Ted Nugent.
Getting all of my notes. There's just so many notes on Fleetwood Mac. It's insane. Okay, side 1 is Secondhand News.
Yes.
Writer Lindsey Buckingham, lead vocals Lindsey Buckingham.
Nice. Pretty solid opener to the album. Sort of an upbeat kind of like, and again has that laid back California vibe. Kind of just not like too fast, but just kind of laid back enough. It has that sort of a funky little guitar riff in there, and the funny thing is, I've seen, I was listening to it. I pulled it up on YouTube, and I saw the comments on it. And now I will never not be able to think about this when I hear the song, because it's like someone kind of like misplaced the lyrics and be like, instead of like I'm just secondhand news, I'm just secondhand news. They started to do it like I'm just sitting here nude. I'm just sitting here nude. And now I'm never not going to be able to hear that in my head whenever I hear the song.
Well, that's just like the same thing with like Jimi Hendrix.
Excuse me while I kiss this guy.
Exactly. So.
Or with CCR, there's a bathroom on the right.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
For like 20 years, my aunt thought that's what the lyric was to that song.
Oh my God, that's Jesus.
It's one of the most disputed lyrics in rock history.
I'm just going through, like, kind of seeing if there's anything that stands out to you in this track, or because this one it's good. It's not my favorite. I'll put that out there.
It's definitely an album track. It's not, it didn't end up being one of their big hits, but it was kind of a cool little opener. It kind of sets the stage for it, sort of a laid back vibe to it. I haven't dove too deep into the lyrics of all the songs and all the meanings of it. I imagine there's a lot of significance there, and we could probably spend hours talking about it. Yeah. With all the personal stuff that was going on, between everyone in there, just Lindsey and Stevie were a couple. I don't know if they had broken up by this point. I think John and Christine McVie had probably already been separated or gotten a divorce by this time.
They were barely talking to each other at that point.
Which is crazy that they still stayed in the band. Mick Fleetwood was in love with Stevie Nicks. That's been well documented.
And they did have an affair too.
I don't know if that was going on while she was dating Lindsey. I don't think. She and Lindsey.
I think it was happening after they broke up. But obviously that opens up old wounds.
I don't think Lindsey and Stevie were ever married, were they? Or
no, they were not.
No. So.
Only married couple were the McVies. So. Yeah.
Right. So.
So screw it. We don't like this one as much. Let's move on to the next.
I know, right? Like, I almost feel like that scene from that 70s show where Kitty, goes to the kids, like, you kids switch partners more than square dancers. Love that show. But yeah, secondhand news. I guess you could call that a metaphor for being like an afterthought or something like that. But it's such a positive, upbeat song. It doesn't really have that much of a negative vibe to it.
I agree with you on that one.
So yeah, that's secondhand news, aka sitting here nude.
Sitting here nude. Okay, number two track is Dreams. Writer Stevie Nicks and lead vocals Stevie Nicks.
I mean, what more can you say about that? That is a classic Fleetwood Mac staple, and just a great song. I mean, has that very catchy chorus. Thunder always happens when it's raining. And that song just has hook after hook in it, and it stood the test of time.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like I would have went with Dreams first instead of Secondhand News. I don't know, because I think it's like the song's got this like really good vibe. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of a build up. It gives me sometimes chills listening to it, just because the lyrics are so poignant. Mm-hmm. Like you said, thunder only happens when it's raining. Players only love you when they're playing.
Yeah. Which that can mean so many things, and that's the beauty of this lyrics like that, where it probably referenced a situation in their lives, but imagine how many people listen to that and can probably apply it to their own situation. I
can get into this a little more later, and if not, we could do it just right now. But there's like a yin and yang to this, because you have Dreams, which is Stevie Nicks' version of a breakup, and this song obviously sounds more optimistic. sounds more positive, and then you have Go Your Own Way, Lindsey Buckingham's, which sounds a lot more pessimistic.
Yeah, pretty much.
Than Stevie. So there's still like that. There's still like a yin and yang, and two sides to the coin. You know.
Absolutely.
But that's a great song, and as of late, you know, due to this meme that came out for Dreams, and you have to watch it. It's pretty hilarious.
Oh, I need to see that. I don't think I'm familiar.
Just Google it, and you'll have a good time.
Got it. Will do.
Oh, it's hilarious. So next one is Never Going Back Again. Writer Lindsey Buckingham, lead vocals Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah, that one. I mean, that essentially was like I think Lindsey was the only person on that track. It was essentially like a solo track within it.
Yeah.
It was just, just him singing and playing guitar. Again, has that, bluegrass, country influence. Very folky, kind of guitar in there.
I go back and forth with that song. There's sometimes like I really like it, and then there's sometimes I just get really annoyed with it.
Yeah, just that he has a really distinct voice. It reminded me of it almost reminded me of that song he did years later, Holiday Road, for Vacation.
Oh yeah.
Holiday Road.
I can see that.
It almost reminded me of like Kenny Loggins and that sort of that's
yeah. I could see that.
Very similar vocal style there.
And it starts out with lyrics. She broke down and let me in. Made me see where I've been.
Mm-hmm.
Been down one time, been down two times. Never going back again.
Well, there you go. It's pretty straightforward.
I think this is the shortest song, like lyric-wise, on the album.
Yeah. It's and it's just like 2 minutes 14 seconds. Like it's a quick one.
Yeah. So I mean, it goes and comes. Very fast, but it still leaves a good taste in my mouth when listening to this album.
Absolutely.
So next we got Don't Stop.
Don't Stop, another classic of theirs. I remember hearing this for the first time when I had to be like 7 or 8 years old. My parents, I don't know where they got this or why, like they got it from like a Shell gas station. It was like this compilation album that, like, I guess Shell was putting out as part of a promotion thing. It was called like Cruisin' Classics. It had stuff like Uptown Girl from Billy Joel on it, and like Rockin' Me by the Steve Miller Band.
Something mom and dads can rock out to.
Pretty much.
To drown out their children.
Pretty much. So I remember hearing this, and I heard Don't Stop, and I enjoyed it back then as a little kid, but I didn't really. I think Lindsey's voice is kind of so overpowering. You don't necessarily, you almost forget that Christine McVie is singing the second verse on it.
Yeah.
Because their voices just blend so well together.
You're right. And once again, this is another pure example of Christine McVie, like, really shining in the in lyric skills,
Yeah, I had no idea that she was the writer for this one. And this was one of their big hits. It ended up, I think, probably getting back in the charts in the early 90s when Bill Clinton used it in his campaign in 1992, which won him the presidency.
I love me Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, yeah. It's really good.
I love using my sax.
That's right. I need to put a sax in there. Thank you, Mr. President, for that analysis.
Anybody needs some sax? I'll do it. They're like, no, Mr. President, not. Like I said, sax.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we could have went on. So we could go on.
I don't know where we're going with this.
We're not. We're not going anywhere, and I'm fine with that because why the hell not?
This is a typical conversation between you and me. By the way, everyone listening is just listening in on this.
I don't care if there's 10 people listening or even
one.
Well,
I know we're making each other laugh.
Well,
and that's really all that matters.
That's the point I'm making.
Exactly.
I cross my fingers that some people will listen in.
Exactly.
And
yes.
I could not wait to see if there's going to be any comments because people are going to note so many inaccuracies.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Probably of what we discussed, and it's gonna be hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Because I am not claiming to be a total expert. I'm just claiming I want to talk about this album, and I could be totally throwing you some bullshit. And
It's like, well, actually, it was written about this, and it's
all
like, all
guys,
right,
and then I gotta say, sorry, not sorry.
yeah, okay, bye. Okay,
I might make random voices during this, so
yeah, no, it's
so
totally
don't
fine.
worry about that.
In fact, it's encouraged. But
I
yeah, no,
got too many.
don't stop is I mean, it's a solid like upbeat, rocking tune. It definitely has a drive to it, and it's catchy.
Oh my
And
god,
it's
yeah.
such a great solo in the middle of it. Very, one of the heavier moments on the record, I think.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. But now I'm thinking about it. We'll talk about that when we get to the chain. But
Yeah, no, that's true. The chain is pretty heavy in there. But Lindsay's solo in this one is fantastic. It's one of those solos you can sing along to, which
yeah.
is the mark of a good guitar solo, I think.
Oh my god, now I keep thinking about Clinton, and that not really about Clinton, but about that inauguration or whatever it was when they played, and I just see stupid Al Gore and
dancing.
and Tipper Gore.
I like this song.
This song, that's the greatest song in the world.
This is a great song from the Fleetwood Macs.
I'll lock the Fleetwood Mac. What is?
I remember Adam Sandler doing an Opera Man bit. He's like, Gore, no, stop! You're scared of the Bambinos.
Al Gore. Well, and fucking Tipper Gore and
Super serial.
Super serial. Man,
Absolutely.
Bear Pig.
Pig Bear Man?
No, it was Man Bear Pig.
Got it. Okay.
Sorry. I have to correct on that one.
That's
God
why
forbid
you're the host.
I love me my South Park. So
that's why you're the host of the show. So
I'm begging to differ right now.
You got to lay down the law right now.
The sheriff's in town. Super serial.
All right.
Okay. Back on to Fleetwood Mac. This is how much we're really getting into it. So Don't Stop is it's just a great uplifting song, and that will get you moving and grooving.
Yeah. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Who can't get behind that? That's a great line, great sentiment,
And like I said before, it's a testament to Christine McVie and her great writing skills,
Absolutely.
I'm just going over the lyrics, and I'm trying to look.
Mm-hmm.
If you wake up and don't want to smile, but it takes just a little while, open your eyes and look at the day. You'll see things in a different way.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It just has to be that simple,
Yeah, it really does. You don't have to overthink a lot of the message in a lot of these songs. I think that's why they connect with so many people.
And don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop. It will soon be here. It'll be better than before. Yesterday's gone.
Yesterday's gone. Yes.
So it's like, the past is gone. Yesterday's in the past,
Exactly. Keep moving forward.
Exactly. And tomorrow's a new start. So,
yeah.
Once again, I don't know. I guess I just have my little crush on Christine McVie. Maybe that's what it is.
Hey, maybe.
But,
getting serious now.
And then, so this goes back now to the last song on side one, which is Songbird.
Yeah, I wasn't as familiar with this one. It's a really, really somber, like piano ballad. It's all Christine on this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really highlights her voice. And, I can't think of too many bands who have had two female lead vocalists who sound as different, who have such different voices as Christine and Stevie.
Oh, absolutely. And like Christine's got this sultry, bluesy, low down, like I would like to say like raw sound, but like I said, I'll when we get into the chain, I'll talk a little more. But like she has such a range, and we could always bust on Stevie Nicks all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I could reference South Park too.
Oh yeah, they're brutal on her. I think Stevie has a much more natural, like powerful rock voice than Christine does. But because I think Christine is more of like a crooner working within a rock context,
Yeah.
as almost more of a bluesier voice. She doesn't necessarily have a lot of strength and power in her voice per se, but it is kind of light on the lighter side, but has sort of that smoky atmosphere to it as well.
And that's, yeah, exactly. And
Where it's
she
like
knows how to use it as well. She knows how
yeah,
to
yeah,
work
like
with what
she's
she's
not
got.
technically a great like powerhouse singer, but she's able to fit right into her pocket, and it just works.
When I was watching the behind the music, John McVie was actually saying that they would end with Songbird, and then they would just sit back, and him and Mick Fleetwood would kind of tear up,
Yeah,
not because of like just kind of like of her singing it, but all the memories coming back when they would hear that song. So
sure.
that was interesting to hear. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm no doubt. I mean, stuff like that is probably a snapshot of where they were in their lives at that point. It's the good and bad memories, no doubt.
oh, absolutely. Now we're on to side 2.
For all you vinyl lovers, of course.
And just a side note is that I did not realize, maybe I guess all the vinyl heads know this, but basically they could only really have about 20 minutes of music on each side.
That sounds about right. That makes sense.
So yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it like, yeah, you're pretty much averaging out around like 20 minutes or whatever around. What's the total length? It's 39 minutes and 43 seconds.
Yeah, that's about right. And I think I think on CDs, you could fit about like 80 minutes worth of music, give or take.
Okay.
Per disc. At least, I mean, I know with recordable CDs, like CDRs.
Oh yeah, you can.
That's about what, and I don't know if it's always been that way with CDs, and now we're in the digital age where you could pretty much go for broke.
Yeah, pretty much. You can do whatever the hell you want now.
Yeah, more or less.
But it's cool to know, because then I think about all these other albums, like like Yes album, where it's like a four LP release.
I mean, it makes sense, because you look at the way like most singles were in the '60s. They'd like be 2-3 minutes tops, because they were on 45s and they could only put so much on there.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so once again, I digress.
Yeah.
But so I think the first song on side 2, it's probably my favorite. I would say it's probably my favorite song on this album, and probably my favorite Fleetwood Mac song behind probably Landslide. But The Chain, I mean, it is just so ballsy, and I just love it so much.
Yeah.
And actually, this is the only song on the album where every single band member contributed to the song.
Yeah.
So I mean that's pretty cool. But I mean it starts off, doom, doom, doom. Like you get that beat, like starting off, and I really love it. And then once again, I told you going into, Christine McVie's vocals, like her background vocals are amazing on that.
Yeah, just multi-layered, very, very much Eagles-esque.
Yeah, I would agree.
Those verses and the chorus, and just even that cool little interlude, that little coda they had at the end, where it just he had John McVie's kind of isolated bass track, which it wasn't a super complicated bass line, but it was distinct enough where like do 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 do. It's funny, like as a rhythm section, like John McVie and Mick Fleetwood weren't overly flashy players.
Yeah.
But I mean, they kind of did what the song called for. They kind of laid back, and they weren't as in your face with it. But like that part, was like where he kind of got to shine a little bit, even though it wasn't necessarily a dynamic bass line. It's distinctive, and it did exactly what it needed to do.
But at the same time, I feel like everybody shined in in that song.
Oh,
Because
100%.
once you get that bass line, and then the drums start coming in, and Lindsey Buckingham starts coming in, and then
Yeah,
it
that
kicks
build
in.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that is just amazing, and it's just so good.
It really is. I mean, it's just such a well constructed song. The production on it sounds incredible. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, so that's probably my favorite song on the album. Probably like I said, probably my favorite Fleetwood Mac song. It's just so good.
Oh,
I don't know why, but it just always just rings true to me.
absolutely. And I mean, there have been a ton of people have covered that song because it's such a staple of of classic rock radio and Fleetwood Mac set. But like, I've had a lot of different bands. Like, I think in 2004, Tantric had a sort of a minor hit with that. They released a cover version of that. I don't.
Tantric. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah, yeah.
I vaguely
Tan-
remember them.
yeah, yeah. Breakdown. I don't know if I feel like Godsmack has maybe covered it. I don't know if that's true or not. I want to say they did. I want to say that Godsmack has covered it. I'm not seeing it on here, but I've seen a few other bands like Kick Axe. Let's see, Taking Dawn, Bone Thugs and Harmony sampled it.
Nice.
So it's been sampled, sort of in the hip hop world as well. And yeah, so I mean, and it showed up in the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack for the second movie.
That's cool.
So yeah, I mean, no doubt they've made a ton of money on this song alone.
Trying to look up stuff too, so
Sure.
I'm at whosampledit.com.
Right?
3 Days Grace.
Yeah. Yes. I did see that. 3 Days Grace did a cover of it as well.
Dawn, Tantric. The Royal Philharmonic Orchestra.
Huh.
Sean Colvin. Do you remember Sean Colvin?
I remember that name from the Armageddon soundtrack from 1998. She had, I think, was it a girl, Sean Colvin?
Yes.
Yeah, she had a song on that. I don't really know a lot of her other stuff, but that's where I remember that name from in the late 90s.
Well, she had like one big hit, like Sonny Came Home or something like that.
Yes. Oh yeah, I remember that song. Sonny came home. Da 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 da. Yeah. I know it.
Days go by and
Yes.
yeah, I think that was probably like in like that was like 98, something like that. Like
Had to be like mid to late 90s.
7th, 8th grade.
Very like Lilith Fair kind of stuff.
Exactly. She was on the Lilith Fair.
Sure, yeah, she was one of those girls. No, I was going to say, I know we were going to transition into the next track, which is another Christine original, and she takes the lead vocal on that, You Make Lovin' Fun.
Yes.
Gee, I wonder what they were singing about on that one.
Yeah, oh, I know. This actually was about her. She wrote this about her boyfriend, who was Fleetwood Mac's lighting director at the time.
Yeah.
But it's got this good groove to it. Like
it does. Like it's so different from everything else that's on there. It just has this like funky beat into it. It's almost, I mean, and again, this came out like 76, 77. I mean, I could imagine like them playing this in like disco clubs back then. Like
that's how I was kind of getting the feel of it,
Like it's not really a disco tune, but it definitely has that sensibility where it has that like upbeat, like funk, very bass driven.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You could imagine someone like the Tramps or Earth, Wind and Fire covering it or something.
It's just got this like funkiness and like this good groove, and I really like that song too. And once again, I'm being so biased right now to Christine McVie, and I'm really not trying to, but I mean, it's just listening to it and just going back to Songbird. That's my wife's favorite song on this album, and like. Before I started the podcast tonight, she's like, I want to listen to it before we start. So I put it on the vinyl and we listened to it. And I was like, wow, just really good.
It's kind of crazy, like how much, like how many hits she wrote for the band, yet she still isn't necessarily quote unquote the star. She doesn't really get as recognized as much of the others, but like, it's pretty incredible. I mean, to see what she contributed to the band.
Oh, absolutely. The next one is I Don't Want to Know. Writer Stevie Nicks and lead vocals Nixon Buckingham.
I imagine it's about like someone having an affair or, like again, a breakup of a relationship. But this one was much more upbeat and much more positive sounding, even though it kind of had the same type of lyrics.
Yeah.
And it was a duet between Lindsay and Stevie.
I will agree with you on that.
So
I don't have too much to say about that. I mean, it's good. And then the next one's Oh Daddy, Christine McVie. And now this is where I'm going to say it's not my favorite.
yeah,
Not my favorite on the album.
yeah, it's sort of a slower, like mid-tempo, kind of bluesy rock song. Now I was doing a little research. There's been a little bit of there's been a few like different stories about what this song is about. There was one report that said, like, I guess that she wrote this about Mick, who I think was the only one in the band who had kids at the time, which I don't know if I buy that. It might have been about, like...
Once again, I am referencing my awesome Behind the Music. Basically, he was talking, like, Mick Fleet was talking about his drug addiction, and basically he said, he goes, I just watched my wife and 2 kids walk out.
Oh yeah.
So he had kids, he had a family, and the whole drug use kind of took over him. But the McVies didn't have any children, and obviously Stevie and Lindsay weren't making any babies either. So
it had a very like Queen vibe, and it just took me like just a minute ago. It kind of clicked in my head. I'm like, that's what this reminds me of.
Okay. I can see that. I could definitely see that. So the last song to end the album is Gold Dust Woman. I mean, this is a classic song, I think I'm pretty sure it's the longest song on the album as well.
Yeah.
Clocking in at 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is definitely past your 2-minute and 30-second radio edit.
I mean, this song, you talk about like the perfect like male-female acoustic duet, this pretty much nails it. It just has such a groove to it as well. The way Lindsay plays. Yeah, I mean, it just... I mean, not...
No one could see, but I'm jamming out to you right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've heard... I've seen people cover this song and, like male-female duos, and it just... It works so well on that level, especially in the chorus where like the background vocals kick in, and it's such a cool title too. That's such a cool song title. It just evokes some imagery in your mind already. It's almost like Gold Dust Woman. Like, what are they talking about? Are they talking about like some like mythical creature or mythical character? Are they talking about the wrestler Gold Dust? Are they talking about?
I'm pretty sure they weren't talking about the wrestler, but.
Yeah, that was about 20 years before Dustin Rhodes started taking that gimmick. I digress.
But, and there was the whole mystique with Stevie Nicks. With being a witch. And
yeah, and she had, like, the long drapes and everything. She was, she was a rock star, man.
Yeah, she didn't care.
Still is. Yeah.
So, top 3 songs. Give me your top 3 for this album.
I gotta go with The Chain.
Absolutely.
I gotta go with Don't Stop. And let's see, it's a tie between. I'll go with Gold Dust Woman.
Okay.
It's sort of a close tie with that and Dreams. Yeah. What about you?
The Chain, number 1. It's a tough one. I would say Go Your Own Way. Number 2. That would be.
That's a good choice.
And then.
Go Your Own Way, by the way, not to interrupt, it kind of reminds me of Runnin' on Empty by Jackson Browne.
Okay.
Very similar vibe to it. For some reason, it reminds me of that song.
And I think for number 3, oh man, I'm going to go with Songbird.
Yeah, I can see that.
So The Chain, Go Your Own Way, and Songbird. Those are my definitive 3 for this album.
There you go.
So the next little part I'm going to talk about is this article that I got from Rolling Stone, and it's Fleetwood Mac's Rumours, 10 Things You Didn't Know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'd love to hear this.
We kind of went through maybe a couple before, but number 1, The Chain has its basis in an unreleased Christine McVie song.
Oh, okay.
So according to Rolling Stone, the second side of Rumours kicked off with Fleetwood Mac's very own Frankenstein's Monster. Built from a handful of desperate music fragments, The Chain has the distinction of being the only song credited to all 5 members of the late 70s lineup. At its core is the Christine McVie composition Keep Me There, also known as Butter Cookie. A tense keyboard-driven track that remained incomplete during the early album sessions in February 1976.
I could see that. I mean, so I could see how so many songs are born one way and come out completely different. Especially when you get songs that are created to everyone in the band. It's very rarely is that usually the case. It's usually like someone starting an idea and maybe everyone else building upon it.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
According to Lindsey Buckingham, we decided it needed a bridge, so we cut a bridge and edited it into the rest of the song. So
you're doing great, Joe.
They settled on this 10-note bass passage played by John McVie over a slow crescendo of Fleetwood's drums. And then we have a little quote here. We didn't get a vocal and left it for a long time in a bunch of pieces. It almost went off the album. Then we listened back and decided we liked the bridge, but didn't like the rest of the song. So we wrote the verses for that bridge, which was originally not in the song, and edited those in. So
I could see that. I mean, that song has so many different dynamics to it. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Okay, so number 2. Stevie Nicks wrote Dreams in Sly Stone's bed.
Really?
Apparently.
She had a thing going on with Sly. I'm laughing. For a second there, I was thinking about Sly Stallone. I'm like, really? She hooked up with Rocky? Like, but no, like Sly Stone, as in Sly and the Family Stone.
Yes.
That probably would have been a very different song.
Here's how it is. Sessions at the record plant in Sausalito, California could be tedious affairs with little for Nicks to do. To keep the boredom at bay and to keep friction with Buckingham to a minimum, she often sought a refuge in an unused studio down the hall that had been built for funk renegade Sly Stone.
Oh, okay.
So she said, I would take the electric piano with me and my crocheting and my journals and my books and my art, and I would just stay there until they needed me. So,
well, there you go. Funny thing is, Stevie didn't really play any instruments on the record. She's just credited with vocals, but I mean, obviously she could play keys and guitar, and that's how she wrote her songs.
Yeah, absolutely. But but that's just funny though. Like, but my bigger question is, who approved that at the record company? They're like, we're gonna give Sly Stone like his own room,
right?
Sly, this is your place.
I mean, I guess Sly had enough clout back then where he's like, I want my own bedroom.
They're like, okay, anything you want, Sly.
I'm like, was he pissed that he's like, who's this bitch in my bed?
Yeah, and I realized it's actually a recording studio. But, yeah. Hey, whatever.
That's funny.
I digress. Number 3. And we're back!
And we're back!
Back on Off the ADHD Train.
Yes.
Number 3. Mick Fleetwood credits his dyslexia for the unusual drumming pattern on Go Your Own Way.
Interesting. Yeah, I would say that song, of all the songs on the albums, is where like Mick has such a distinct, drum beat or drum part in it, I should say. It's a very like interesting like rhythm he's playing there. It didn't seem overly. I wouldn't say it didn't sound particularly unusual. It's just very distinct and very very much like a Ringo Starr type of beat he had going on there.
From what I'm reading, it's kind of saying that they wanted Mick Fleetwood to kind of sound like Charlie Watts a little bit on the Rolling Stones' Street Fighting Man.
Okay.
Buckingham decided that he wanted a similar pattern. He thought it would be well suited for the song.
Very very syncopated, coming into it. Yeah.
And Mick Fleetwood tried to do it as best he could, but he couldn't really get it, so he got it into his own unlikely arrangement. It proved perfect for the track. So
yeah, I mean it still drove the song really well, I thought.
All right, number 4. Lindsey Buckingham's guitar was restrung every 20 minutes during the recording of Never Going Back Again.
Interesting. That's interesting. I mean, maybe, I don't know if that's something he did he did regularly. I mean, some guys are very particular about the sound they want to get. So yeah, I mean, I guess at that level you can do stuff like that.
There's a quote, and it is a mystery quote, but no, someone said, I noticed that anytime he played, there was a big difference in how bright his strings sounded after just 20 minutes. And this was on an acoustic guitar, so it wasn't just electric. But so I guess who said this? Oh, Kobe Calais' dad, Ken Calais.
Yeah, Ken.
Good old
Kenny.
Ken. Kenny.
Yeah, Lindsey must have been just playing the crap out of those strings then.
But I guess from what Ken Calais said, he said. So I said, we can restring your guitar every 20 minutes. And he's like, I wanted to get the best sound on every one of his picking parts.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I could see how that would be a producer's call. And yeah, that makes sense to me.
So number 5, the band used a chair as a percussion instrument on Secondhand News.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I guess I could see that. But I could see that be buried in the mix, where they just maybe tap it down and just bump, 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 bump.
Buckingham's album opener began as a Celtic-tinged march, provisionally known as Strummer.
I could see that.
So you got that Celtic feel.
Sort of an Irish folk tune. I could definitely.
I could see that too.
That's where American folk music comes from. So.
Number 6, Songbird was recorded live at UG Berkeley's Zellerbach Auditorium.
Wow, vocals and everything?
From what it's saying. Many tracks on Rumours went through an extensive transformation before finding their way onto the finished product. But Christine McVie's modern hymnal was fully formed from the moment Calais first heard it at the end of long recording date. And Calais, Kobe Calais' dad, once again, I just like saying that.
Yeah.
So Kobe Calais and Ken Calais.
Yeah, Kenny boy.
So our good old Kenny boy said, we were finishing up one of those crazy sessions at Sausalito Record Plant, and I was wrapping up some Gables. He said, Christine sat down at the piano and started playing this beautiful song. I stopped what I was doing and turned around and watched her. I was just amazed on how beautiful the song was.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than drown down the melody with a full band treatment, Calais decided to strip down the whole approach to the recording.
Yeah.
And did it live. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So it said the Berkeley Community Theater was unavailable, so Calais booked the university's Zellerbach Auditorium on March 3rd, 1976.
That's crazy. I mean that's wild. Some of the lengths that people will go to get like the right sound they want, because I'm sure the acoustics in there must have just been perfect for what they were doing. And I don't know how many takes they did of that song, but it sounded great.
So let's see what he said. He said, as a surprise for Christine, I requested that a bouquet of roses be placed on her piano with 3 colored spotlights to illuminate them from above. I really wanted to set the mood. So when Christine arrived, we dimmed the house lights so that she could see there were flowers and the piano with the spotlight shining down from the heavens. She nearly broke into tears, and then she started to play.
Wow.
So the session continued until 7 o'clock the following morning with the live performances captured by 15 microphones placed around the auditorium.
Okay.
So it took a long time because I had to do it in one take.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I guess the final recording they got was just in one take and not necessarily like stringing it together from other takes.
Correct. So it could have been whatever, take whatever, but it was a straight through recording.
Man,
That's
her voice
insane,
must have been
isn't it?
Dead by the end of that.
But
I mean that's how they did it back then, when it was all analog. It wasn't digital. It was harder to splice stuff together like that.
They were doing it live,
Yeah, we're doing it live right here.
We are so doing this live.
Oh yeah.
If anybody is still listening to this, probably my wife.
God bless you.
God bless you, because I'm not saying this is a train wreck, But we are all over the place tonight.
I love it though. I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, I'm having fun. So number 7 kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that Silver Springs was left off Rumors due to space limitations.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about the whole 20 minutes per side. So
yeah, I mean, it's not the exact same song as I Don't Want to Know, but I know it has that phrase I don't want to know in it, and I just kind of like connected the two that way, and that was very like kind of similar lyrically, but I imagine they probably had to pick one or the other, and so they decided to go with a more upbeat tune on it.
Yeah. So
I imagine Silver Springs probably could have been a hit, though.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if there's any specific notes to it. We're in Maryland somewhere, driving under a freeway, sign that said Silver Springs, Maryland, and I love the name Silver Springs. And it sounded like a pretty fabulous place to be.
There you go.
All right. Rock and roll.
There you have it.
Let's see. Number 8. And this is kind of a good story. Mick Fleetwood's balls on the Rumors cover has a backstory.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that earlier tonight when I was taking a closer look at the at the album cover there. I was like, does he have what I think has going on there?
Yeah.
That is great.
So it was in a bathroom. As Mick Fleetwood puts it, actually, lavatory chains. Mick Fleetwood says, I must admit I had a couple of glasses of English ale.
You don't say.
It came out of the toilet with ease.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Hey, Stevie, check out my balls. Wow.
That's the funny thing, too, because, there's only, on the covers, there's only 2 of them.
Yeah, I always wondered why that was the case and like where the other 3 are.
They didn't show up, and Mick Fleetwood and Stevie Nicks were the only ones that showed up.
Oh, well, there you go. It kind of looks like it's 2 different pictures spliced together.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they were in the same frame at the same time. It looks like, I mean, because this is before Photoshop, but it almost like if it came out today, I would say that looks like they Photoshopped the 2 of them together in the same frame.
Yeah, kind of does.
Just because of like the way like they're standing and all that, it's like she holding that pose is like I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, but God only knows.
Yeah.
But the back in the back cover of the album, they're all there. But I guess that during that photo shoot, it was just them too. So like, screw it. I mean, the previous album, the Fleetwood Mac self-titled, was Mick Fleetwood and John McVie.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, there's only 2 of them on that one. So.
Well, there you go. I think that was like something Cheap Trick did for a while.
Well, that's another band we got to talk about is Cheap Trick.
Sure.
Do you know what the funny thing is? We really barely talked about this whole firing of Lindsey Buckingham. We like brushed upon it. Yeah,
I mean, here's one of my theories on that, which may be the case. Based on the limited amount that, and again, I'm not, none of us claim to be an authority and to know everything on this, but like the impression I got when reading some of the articles was that maybe Lindsey probably wanted to record new music as Fleetwood Mac together. I'll bet you anything, like someone in the band probably wanted to do a new record, but I doubt that everyone was on board. They probably just wanted to do a tour. Let's go out, play the hits, make some money.
Yeah, let's just do the hits.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
That's what people want to hear.
Yeah.
Like half the people, there's people that want to hear the new stuff, but let's be honest. If we're going to the concert, you want to hear the songs that everybody can sing to. This is my new song. All right, it's bathroom time.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately that's the truth, especially with these legacy bands that have been around for years and years and years. 90% of people out there just know the hit songs, and that's really all they want to hear. So, yeah. I mean, as an artist, I get it. I get that need to keep wanting to make new stuff, and it's a shame because, like, especially for these well-known bands, none of that stuff is going to make radio. Very few of it.
Where's it going to go on to?
The classic rock stations don't want to play it.
They're not going to play it. The new, maybe. I'm currently in the Philadelphia area. If anybody wants to listen, and we listen to WMMR, which is 93.3 FM. And I mean, they're very eclectic. I could see them.
Oh yeah, MMR would play it,
something.
no doubt.
But definitely the classic rock station, which is 102.9 WMGK, they would definitely not, because they want to, they want to keep to obviously the classics.
To the format, yeah.
To the format. And so there's not really anything else. There's maybe some contemporary.
Yeah, very few bands can do that and are still like looked at. Like I think Metallica can do that, obviously, on rock radio. And
well, even talking about like who we were talking about before, the Eagles. What is it? Was it
Hell Freezes Over?
Yeah, Hell Freezes Over. And they did Love Will Keep Us Alive, and
yeah,
that was kind of a new single then, and everybody I felt like was pretty down with it.
Sure.
I love that album.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe because it was a mixture of classics and a couple new songs, but
sure, and
it's plausible that it can happen. And, if you really think if it's a good hit, then it might hit. But it's just a harder a harder niche to find within radio.
Absolutely, and I think this is a problem common with a lot of legacy bands that are still out there. I know for a fact that like this is an issue right now with the guys from Journey. Neil Schon wants to make new records. Jonathan Cain doesn't, and that's why there's been issues between the two of them. Among other things, they've had little spats, but I mean, they're still.
They've had some issues recently. Well, did the one drummer went to jail?
Dean Castronova a couple years ago. I think he's getting better. He's had some issues, but
he had some like domestic violence or
it was something to that effect, and he's kind of copped to it, and it's an unfortunate situation. I think Dean is a good guy, but he just made some bad choices, and just the drugs got a hold of him, and he's trying to rehab, and now he's playing with the Dead Daisies. But they brought back Steve Smith on drums.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm sure Neil wants Steve Perry back in the band, but maybe John doesn't. I don't really know what's going on with that.
So we're going off on a tangent, and I don't really give a shit if we do.
I'm saying all this because it does kind of relate to what Lindsay's going on.
Yeah.
What's going on with Lindsay and the rest of the band? So far, there hasn't been an official word on it, whether he was fired, whether he left. There hasn't really been an official explanation as to what happened. And it could be a money issue. It could be that. I'm assuming Mick probably owns the name. He probably has the rights to that. So
I'm gonna go on my tangent because I was looking at the Wikipedia for Fleetwood Mac, and apparently in 1974, their manager said that he had the rights to the name Fleetwood Mac, and so he sent out a band under the name Fleetwood Mac, and it wasn't Fleetwood Mac.
That's crazy. But that goes to show you, man, how important name ownership is to these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, because there have been wars fought over it with so many bands. There were two Queensryches and two Rats at one point. You
go into so many things: Misfits, Black Flag.
Oh yeah. 100%. It's crazy. So that's a very important thing. But I don't know what happened between those two camps. I know that Fleetwood Mac still has a tour booked. And they got some guys to come in and replace.
They have Mike Campbell, who's in the Heartbreakers.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the other guy's name, but I don't really remember him from anything significant that I know of. But I know obviously Mike Campbell. He's. I'm not trying to be a dick, but he's got some free time.
Yeah. I mean, well, obviously with the passing of Tom Petty, that kind of. That was his gig, of course. And I don't know if he was in Tom Petty's band Mudcrutch or not, but yeah, I mean, obviously with that, with that unfortunate situation, that leaves an opening up for him. And there's a guy who has a little bit of clout in the industry, and so you've got that. And obviously Fleetwood Mac, there's a lot of money on the table. They have a tour booked, so they're gonna fulfill their commitments. How long?
Well, who's gonna sing Lindsay's part? It's just.
Well, I mean, I was assuming that because they brought in two guys, I assumed they brought in one guy to do the vocal parts and the other guy to like do the guitar work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Or do they just need two guys to fill Lindsey Buckingham's place because he's that good?
Right, right. Well, I mean, obviously, they can afford some session guys to come in and do whatever they need to do.
That's like Guns N' Roses when they had they had so many different guitarists like Buckethead and a few other guys to fill in Slashes.
Sure.
You obviously had two guitar players in GNR, but you know what I mean. Felt like there was five guitarists. During the Chinese democracy.
Well, probably not all at the same time, but there were a lot of people on that record.
Remember when they played the MTV Music Awards? Was it
I do.
Music Awards or Movie Awards?
It was the Movie Awards in 2002.
That's the one Jimmy Fallon hosted.
Yes, I remember that very well.
But I remember there being like a lot of guitarists on stage for some reason.
Yeah, there were three guitar players.
Okay, so I'll say two guys,
Sure,
to cover Slash and one for Izzy.
Yeah, that'll work.
But you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a hard position to fill.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that I don't know if they've played shows with these two new guys yet, and I don't know how that's affected ticket sales. I imagine that might affect some of their bookings, to be honest. Because you're down one of the major stars of the band. It might be a tough sell. But I mean, I'm sure people are still going to go and see them because they want to go hear those songs. They want to see them. You still have Stevie in the band,
Yeah, exactly. You still have most of the band. It's like going to see Roger Waters. Or, the Roger Waters experience where they're going to have somebody that's going to cover David Gilmour.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, now, I mean, whether they end up working things out with Lindsey down the road, I mean, who knows? Stranger things have happened.
I will hope, and I will hold out for that, because that lineup it's just a great lineup, and, Lindsey Buckingham... in my eyes, it's irreplaceable.
I mean, you got to think after all the stuff they've been through together, after all these years,
the shit they've been through,
and it's like they're not getting any younger. It's like,
well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe too, they're getting older and they're being stubborn.
Maybe, and I mean, they were able to bring Christine back after 15 years. She just didn't want to be on the road. I mean, that in itself is crazy. But who knows what they're gonna do? I mean, Fleetwood Mac doesn't have anything left to prove at this point. But
you're absolutely right. They have nothing to prove. But at least
like they could probably still fill arenas.
Exactly, and they got the chops to still do it.
Yeah, like they're still a draw.
Exactly.
On tour, people are gonna go see them.
And they'll sound good. You're not like going to another band, some bands that will come back, you're like, it doesn't sound great. But with them, it's still solid.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably have a little bit of a dip in business because Lindsey's not part of it, but, by and large, I think people are still going to go see it. I doubt the tour is going to be a total bust.
No, they're going to make millions of dollars, and they're just going to add to their riches, and they'll go on with their lives. I don't think it's going to hurt them. I think they're at the point where either way, it's not going to hurt them any other way. Yeah. It's not going to hurt them one bit. So, all right, the last two are the band considered thanking their Coke dealer on the album credits.
Well, whatever. That's
pretty self-explanatory.
I mean, at least they're having a sense of humor about it. It's that's pretty funny.
That's pretty funny.
I wonder if they thanked him at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction speeches.
That would have been funny.
Hilarious.
Oh my God. So okay, the last one is Annie Leibovitz, Rolling Stone cover shoot sowed the seeds for Nick's affair with Fleetwood.
I could see that. I mean, it's like the two of them. They kind of like that pose almost looks a little provocative, like the way they shot it. So who knows? Maybe they spent a lot more time together and had a thing going on. I mean, maybe. I'm sure there was a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, I'm trying to read exactly, but
I'm also laughing at the idea of them sending a handwritten thank you note to Pablo Escobar for all the cocaine they had at that time.
Annie Leibovitz said, "I thought I'd be nice and polite, and I brought a bunch of cocaine for everyone."
Well, that's just being generous.
In those days for photo shoots, you just brought cocaine.
That was how they were paid, actually.
So I took it out, and they looked a little freaked out at first, but then consumed it in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's like bringing a bottle of wine to a party.
Then I learned they'd all recently been to rehab, so
nice.
they're all a little jittery and tense.
Oh, that's perfect. Good Lord. And they're all still alive. God bless them.
Yeah, cocaine really had a stronghold on them.
Knock on wood, they're still going.
I mean, overall, this is a great album. I mean, it's going to stand the test of time.
For sure. I mean, the influence and I mean, the influence that it had over so many artists, that speaks for itself. It's definitely their crown jewel, I guess.
It won the Grammy Award for Album of the Year in 1978. It sold over 40 million copies, and Rumours has received diamond certifications in several countries, including U.S., Canada, and Australia.
Yeah.
So I mean, the money keeps coming in.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be their highest selling album, period. It's certainly their most well known.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what else, because it was, it's always in one of those best albums ever lists.
Sure, it was very much their defining moment.
Yeah, I mean, it took all the struggle and all the pain and all the nonsense.
Yeah, all the personal stuff going on
to create this masterpiece, and it really is. I mean, you could say whatever about Fleetwood Mac, but I mean, anybody listening you can say whatever, but it was amazing, and there was just magic there. So
absolutely, I'm glad I got the chance to kind of like dive into this album. I didn't really necessarily grow up with it. I hadn't really heard a lot of the deeper tracks in it, but hearing the album top to bottom, it was a cool experience, and I'm glad I got to do that.
I figured we'd go balls deep on the first episode.
I love it.
Because, like I said, here's my disclaimer. I don't know anything, but I will tell you something.
There you go. You sound pretty knowledgeable to me, man. I really enjoyed talking to you about this.
No, I had a blast talking about this, For
sure.
And I'm sure we can talk about some more albums later.
Absolutely. There's so many out there.
We'll end on this last little question that I'll throw at you.
All right. Yeah.
So in terms of like albums or even songs on an album, throw off the top of your head your current mood. What album or what song on a specific album? Is there a go-to? Is there something you listen to that gets you pumped up at the gym?
Lately, a song I've been digging and that's gotten me pumped up while working out is it's a song called "Guilty All the Same." It's from Linkin Park's not their last album, but the one before that, The Hunting Party.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a song called "Guilty All the Same," and it has the rapper Rakim on it.
Okay, cool.
And it's just it's such a heavy, just driving song. It's it's a banger for sure.
Okay, very good. That's okay. What song do you listen to if you're having a bad day, or what album kind of will get you out of your funk?
I'll tell you one song that really kind of resonates with me a lot if I'm having a bad day is there's a song from the first 6 a.m. album, The Heroin Diaries. It's called "Accidents Can Happen." I mean, go and look up that song if you can. It just has such a great message. It's not your whole life. It's only one day. You haven't thrown everything away. And it obviously it talks about drug addiction in that one. And I'm not a recovering addict, but you can apply that to having a bad day and feeling like you made a mistake and just being like, don't give up. Just it might take a while, but it's going to be okay.
Exactly.
It's very much like "Don't Stop" from.
I was literally going to go to that. Yeah, just like tomorrow's a new day.
Exactly.
Okay, this is the last. What album or song do you like to listen to when you're cruising down the road?
Ah, boy.
By yourself, just wanting to cruise down the highway.
Man. One I go to a lot, and it's not a very well-known album, but it's the self-titled record from a band called 18 Visions. It came out in 2006. I've actually had the lead singer of that band on my podcast before, a guy named James Hart. He kind of grew up alongside of the guys. He's from Orange County, California. He grew up alongside of the guys from Avenged Sevenfold. Their bands kind of started off in the same hardcore scene together, but that album was much more melodic. And it's not a very well-known album, but that's just one of those albums where it's a little more obscure, but it's just very listenable. It's very the production of it, the songwriting, it's very Def Leppard-esque in terms of the melodies and the layers that's going on to it. It's a great record. I definitely recommend it if you get the chance.
Awesome one for me. I don't know why it's been lately, but just Hot for Teacher.
Yes.
Just
that's a great album, 1984.
Just when you
top to bottom, that record is solid.
But when you just hear that drums, start kicking in, I just want to turn the music up and just start
so good
cruising down the road. And it's just
Alex Van Halen is such an underrated drummer. He is amazing.
My always go-to is either Blink-182, Enema of the State, or Jimmy Eat World, Bleed American.
Yeah.
Which are two great albums on their own, and but I digress. But we're getting a little late. We have been talking for over an hour and a half.
Yeah, man, this is crazy. I mean, I'm sure you'll edit bits and pieces of this, together as much as you want. But dude, I want to thank you for having me on this show. This has been so much fun. I can't wait to do it again.
Before we go, tell the listeners or listener how they can find you on your social media and in your band, and just
Well, I'm sure you'll post a few links. You can follow me on Twitter at JackXConnor. That's JackXConnor. You can find my band Vertebreaker on Facebook at facebook.com/VertebreakerBand. On Twitter at VertebreakerFL, as in the state of Florida. And you can look for my podcast which is on YouTube right now. It's called The Phoenix Report with Jack Connor. I have Joseph here in one of the recent episodes. And
yes.
Yeah, and you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that. Facebook.com/JackConnorMusic, and on Instagram also at JackXConnor.
Well, thank you very, very much for being on this podcast. You are probably one of the best things that's coming out of Florida right now.
Oh, thank you so much, buddy.
But we love you, and I'm so happy you're here. And this will end our first podcast, so I'm going to give myself and you a clap.
I'm clapping at you right back. Clap back.
Clap back at me.
That's right.
So I'm going to leave everybody with this life advice and life lesson. Kind of screw Dory the fish and put it into music perspective and just keep spinning.
Yes.
And don't stop thinking about tomorrow or Lindsey Buckingham.
I love you. I can't wait to do this again if you'll have me.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Just keep spinning, and we'll see you next time.